Good afternoon, everyone. Phil Simons with Columbia Grain here, and your Friday afternoon weekly grain market recap. Well, we did make it to the end of another week, so let's go ahead and dive right into it and see what the markets gave us to work with this week. So I'm going to share my screen with you again, and we're going to navigate over to our favorite website, columbiagrain.com. And in the upper right-hand corner, we can go to the Producer Solutions tab, which will take us over to the Producer Solutions link. But this week, we really, quite honestly, didn't have that much fresh fundamental data that was really giving clear direction to the markets in terms of upward or downward movement. We did have some news wires out here this morning about Russia and potentially getting some additional grain business on with nations that don't actually have grain traders. So it could be interesting to see how the reporting system is affected in that regard. So definitely something to continue to monitor as we go forward and see what any potential end implications could be with that. But everything, quite honestly, this week was moved by one day, as we did have Columbus Day on Monday. So we actually had the export sales report out here this morning, and just wanted to kind of look at that because the numbers that we did see in terms of sales that were done last week actually came in pretty good. We actually had corn come in at 87, just over 87 million bushels for overall U.S. sales from last week, which is actually a pretty healthy number and nice to see quite a bit of business getting done there. Soybeans coming in at just over 62 million bushels. So again, at the definitely at the higher end of the pre-report estimates, or what they thought we were going to see coming into the numbers here this morning. And when we look at the all wheat class, again, kind of at the higher end of where the report was thought to come out at 18.5 million bushels. So definitely nice to see a pretty good round of sales really across the board. But for when we break down the wheat by class, we did have Durham coming in at 1.1 million bushels. They are a little bit behind as far as where we have seen, the pace where we should be for Durham, but definitely nice to see them getting some sales on. We look at spring wheat, actually had a really good week last week of 7.7 million bushels. Look at hardwood winter wheat, came in at 2.8 million. Not too bad. And soft red at 1.4, and then we wind everything up with soft white wheat coming in at 5.5 million bushels. So definitely nice to see good numbers across the board. And we look and see like what's the pace, right? How are we standing up versus where we were last year? This one's kind of hard to see because there's a lot of data on here, but quite honestly, right now the USDA they're giving us corn export sales estimates at 2.325 billion bushels. Marketing year to date, we're coming in at 783 million bushels. So when you compare that to where we were last year at this time, we're definitely ahead of the pace in terms of where we were last year, and also what we need on a weekly basis in order to get to the USDA current goals. We definitely beat that here this week for corn, and same thing with soybeans. I mean, right now the USDA, they're estimating that we're going to have 1.85 billion bushels of U.S. soybeans being sold in terms of export business. Right now, our marketing year-to-date sales are coming in at 803 million. So again, higher than where we were last year at this time. But the overall pace, we're definitely, in terms of where we came in today, we're beating the pace that we need to on a weekly basis in order to reach the USDA estimates there. And when we look at wheat, again, coming in at 825 million bushels from the USDA's perspective. Right now, our marketing year-to-date sales are just over 461 million bushels. And we take and compare that to where we were last year at this time at 394, definitely ahead of the curve in terms of the overall volume from the wheat perspective. And again, still beating the pace in terms of where we should be on a weekly basis in order to meet the current USDA estimates for export sales on wheat. So definitely nice to see the numbers that came out here this morning. But quite honestly, the futures had almost like the exact opposite reaction to a good report. And we actually did see the futures go down pretty significantly here today. It's kind of one of those things where it's almost like a buy the rumor and sell the fact when we actually see it. So with that, on the week, we do see that new crop corn, Dees corn anyway, had an overall weekly range of 16 cents. And we actually closed the week out with a net loss of 11 cents. On the bean front, the soybeans, we actually had a range of 40 cents on Nove beans, and closing the week out with a net loss of 32 cents there. And turn the page over to the wheat complex. Kansas Dees 24 had a 26-cent range and closing the week out with a net loss of 25 cents. And Chicago, we had a 31-cent range and closed the week out with a net loss of 26 cents over there in December futures. And winding everything down with Minneapolis, had a 29-cent range and wound up losing 27 cents week on week in December contract for futures month anyway for Minneapolis. So that, again, just trying to reiterate the importance of having your orders out there and working. Be sure to get a hold of your local buyers and managers and take a look at all the different options that we have for forward contracting. We actually, on one of our accumulators that actually came due for new crop soybeans, so Nov 24 soybeans, we actually had a producer that was selling over the life of the contract high for November 24 futures price. So actually really quite exciting to be able to do something like that. Not able to actually even sell futures at that price, but actually getting above the life of the contract high is something to really put a feather in your cap. So other than that, we're going to go ahead and wrap everything up. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and remember, don't let the greedy bird mess on your shoulder. Get your orders out there and get them working. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk with you next week.